4,000 years ago, the world was drowning in darkness. Hideous demons ravaged the land, burning and devouring everything in sight. Humanity had lost all hope. But amidst the chaos stood a single man. The demons couldn't even touch his shadow. He was an immovable force, standing tall like a mountain in a storm. Facing him meant facing death itself. His voice cut to the battlefield. Calm, powerful. I am Lucas Trauman, the world's most powerful 9-star magician, with eyes like molten gold and a presence that broke the will of even the boldest enemies. Lucas raised his hand. I have achieved everything I once desired. Now I stand to destroy evil itself. A magic circle bloomed beneath him, complex and radiant. With one chant, the sky cracked. Then came the explosion. Blinding light, shattering sound. The entire demon horde erased in an instant, but silence didn't last. From the air, a portal tore open. Divine energy spilled into the world. A cold voice echoed. Lucas Trauman, your arrogance knows no bounds. A figure stepped through, glowing, terrifying. I am a ruler of this world, a demigod, and this world follows our will. Lucas stared him down, unfazed. I have never worshipped gods. You should have, the demigod replied. His eyes burned with divine fury. You may have surpassed humanity, but you are still human, an insect before us. With a simple gesture, Lucas was bound. Chains of divine energy wrapped around him, sealing him in place. Defying the gods is a sin. Your punishment is eternal. You will be cast into the abyss. There, your mind will crumble. You'll forget your name, your purpose, your existence. Darkness swallowed Lucas whole. He didn't scream. He didn't beg. He vanished in silence, swallowed by the prison of forgotten legends. But far away, another story was quietly beginning. A story written not in strength, but in shame, struggle, and silent suffering. A boy named Fry, the third son of the Blake house, had become a living embarrassment compared to his brilliant siblings. He was nothing, weak, untalented, useless. Even his own family had abandoned him. Honestly, if I were you, I'd just end it already, sneered one bully, after beating him into the ground. As Fry lay broken, another voice mocked, Don't forget tomorrow's magic class. I'll make sure you never walk again. Fry clenched his fists, rage boiling beneath his bruises. His heart screamed, not for glory, but for freedom. I just want to be strong enough to stop being crushed, to never bow again. And somewhere in the darkness, someone heard that wish. It was Lucas. Trapped in the abyss, Lucas had endured centuries of torment, but he never gave in. He battled the curse every day. He counted every second, not because he hoped to escape, but because he refused to be broken. Then suddenly, a light. For the first time in 4,000 years, something broke through the void. Lucas looked up. He felt it. A soul. Desperate. Honest. Real. At the same time, Fry, alone and broken, drank poison. His final wish echoed softly. In the next life, let me fly. Let me have wings. And then the miracle happened. The seal on Lucas shattered. His soul surged forward. And in a moment of fate, he reached out and touched Frey's dying consciousness. Shape. Fry woke up in his bed. But something was wrong. Or rather, something was different. The body was Frey's, but the soul inside was not. Lucas Trauman, the 9-star magician, the man lost to history, had returned. He now lived inside Fry. He could feel everything. The humiliation, the pain, the loneliness. Lucas looked into the mirror, his expression calm, controlled, but his voice carried weight. This body is weak, but the heart that called out was pure. You freed me, Fry. Now I will give you wings. His injuries began to heal, not slowly, but unnaturally fast. His aura shifted. The magic around him changed. Fry Blake, the weak boy, no longer existed. In his place stood Lucas Trauman, reborn, resolved, and he made a promise to take revenge, not just on the demigod who imprisoned him, but on every person who stepped on Fry, not out of rage, but out of justice. out of respect for the soul that reached him through the darkness. Shape. Lucas knew he couldn't regain his full power instantly. The body was too frail, too damaged, but it didn't matter. He began to train, methodically, with discipline honed over centuries. He meditated, rebuilt his mana core, focused his mind, and slowly he began to rise. A few weeks passed. Lucas had advanced to the level of a 5-star magician, something no one thought Fry could ever reach. But the body still held him back. Years of neglect and magical rot had left deep scars. Lucas made a decision. He would purge it, all of it, through sheer force of will. He forced out every impurity. The pain was immense, but he didn't flinch. He wasn't just rebuilding power. He was refining a weapon. Meanwhile, the academy buzzed with gossip. Word had spread that Fry tried to kill himself. Some students pitted him. Others placed bets. David, the lead bully, smirked. If he shows up, I'll break him again. Jack laughed. I heard. He took a whole bottle of sleeping pills. He's probably a ghost by now. And then the door opened. The classroom felt tense the moment Fry walked in. But this wasn't the same Fry Blake who used to slouch through the door, head down, eyes empty. This was Lucas Trauman wearing Frey's skin. The boy who once shrank beneath every stare now carried the weight of a man who had defied gods. Students stared. Some whispered. But one voice rose above the rest, Jack. Mocking. Confident. Stupid. He stepped forward to provoke Fry like he always had. A second later, Jack was flying, launched through the air like a rag doll. He crashed into desks and collapsed to the floor, unconscious. The class froze. Shock rippled through the room. What just happened? The weakest student in the academy had knocked someone out without effort. No one said a word. Lucas returned to his seat, calm as ever. But in his mind there was no pride, just cold detachment. He hadn't planned to hurt the kid that badly. Maybe he let emotion get the better of him. Just for a moment. Professor Dio arrived shortly after, summoned by the chaos. He checked on Jack while students scrambled for excuses. He just fainted. One lied. Dio wasn't convinced. He looked over at Fry. No words were spoken, but the question hung heavy in the air. Just who exactly is this kid? The next day, Dio was gone. In his place came Professor Kevin, a man with a fake smile, wandering eyes, and no real concern for education. He announced that Jack was stable and would wake up by evening. Class resumed, but Kevin's focus wasn't on magic. It was on the girls in the room, especially Isabel. He made his interest obvious. Grossly so. The students were uncomfortable, whispering about how creepy he was, and warning each other not to draw attention. Then Kevin noticed Fry. He walked up, surprised to see him attending class at all. "Since when do you show up?" he mocked. Lucas didn't blink. "Please be lenient, Professor. Looks like I was busy." Kevin narrowed his eyes. A few students chuckled quietly, amused by Frey's unexpected sharpness. But Kevin wasn't laughing. He wasn't about to let a kid make him look foolish. So he pushed back. He challenged Fry to a quiz. A public one. "If you can't answer even a single question," Kevin warned, "you'll take responsibility for your disrespect." Lucas tilted his head. He was used to challenges. Kevin cleared his throat. "Name 3 items used by the magic warrior king Cassian." Silence. The class waited for Fry to fumble. But Lucas's eyes widened, not in panic, but recognition. He repeated the name slowly. Cassian. There was no mistaking it. That wasn't just a legend. Cassian was real. A warrior Lucas had known, maybe even fought alongside, 4,000 years ago. And now, someone in this era was teaching about him. Lucas leaned forward. "Did you say Cassian?" He wasn't just reacting to a test anymore. He had just found a connection to the past. A sign that the world he left behind hadn't been entirely erased. And the people watching him? They had no idea that the man sitting before them wasn't failing the quiz. He was remembering history. Because Lucas Trauman had returned. And his real test was just beginning. Far from the academy. Deep in the mountains, the earth trembled beneath the fists of a man whose name still echoed in legend. Cassian, the magic warrior king. Each strike cracked the sky. Trees bent. Stones shattered. Shock waves rolled like thunder across the peaks. He wasn't fighting an enemy. He was waging war against his own limits. Behind him, a calm voice called out, "You'll erase the whole mountain at this rate. What happens to the wildlife?" Cassian paused, turned. Lucas stood on the ridge, arms folded, golden hair drifting in the breeze. "It's been a while," Cassian said. Lucas nodded and sat beside a kettle, steam curling into the air. "Still beating the mountains half to death, I see." Another punch, another blast of wind. "You'll die up here, alone, buried under boulders and unwashed clothes," Lucas added. Cassian didn't reply. Lucas sipped his tea and smiled. Some people never change. But this wasn't just a reunion. It was proof. The world Lucas had left behind hadn't vanished. It had survived. Pieces of it still remained. Back at the academy, the classroom buzzed with idle talk. Until Kevin entered. He stood at the front of the room, oozing arrogance. His eyes swept over students, lingering where they shouldn't. And then casually he asked, "So, who is Cassian?" He stared at Fry. Lucas didn't respond. He didn't need to. Isabel answered instead, her tone steady and clear. Cassian was a martial artist, not a magician. Kevin smiled thinly. "Exactly," he said. "Not a magician. And yet, people like to praise him in magical history. Strange, isn't it?" He let the silence stretch before switching gears. "Tell me 3 items used by the magic warrior king, Cassian." Heads turned. Kevin clearly expected failure. But Lucas finally spoke. His voice was calm, dry, certain. "The Tiger King's glove, the Giant's belt, the Gale necklace." Kevin froze. Lucas didn't stop. Cassian was a minimalist. He only needed those 3. He leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning the stunned faces. "And honestly, I told him to drop that necklace. Looked like it belonged to his grandmother." The room held its breath. Then Lucas turned his eyes on Kevin. "Am I wrong?" Kevin's face tightened. "You are correct," he muttered. The class erupted into whispers. Fry Blake had never answered a question like that. Not like this. But Kevin wasn't finished. His pride had been pierced, and he needed a target. He turned toward Isabel, his tone sharpening. "You interrupted earlier. That was disrespectful." He stepped forward. "I believe you lack proper manners. Come with me to the laboratory. You could use special tutoring." Isabel stiffened. No one spoke. Then Lucas stood up. His voice didn't rise. But it stopped everything. "Professor Kevin, do you remember what Cassian used to say?" Kevin blinked. Lucas quoted him flatly. "Feelings of love and affection disturb a martial artist's composure. Women must be seen as mere rocks." Kevin nodded, thinking they agreed. Exactly. Lucas's expression turned cold. But those who fall to their desires become worse than beasts. He stared at Kevin. "And you, Professor, you seem to be standing just fine." The words landed like a blade. Kevin's smirk disappeared. But still, he moved toward Isabel. Lucas stepped between them. "If you take another step," he said, voice steady as stone, "this will be the last class you ever teach." Kevin stopped, not because of fear, but because of something deeper. He looked at Fry and saw something else entirely. Something far older. Something far more dangerous. Lucas sat down again, eyes forward. The classroom stayed silent. No one whispered. No one laughed. Fry Blake was gone. And in his place sat something no one could afford to ignore. A legend reborn. And he had only just begun to move. Thanks for watching. This is just the beginning. Catch you in the next video.